mad at somebody or we're blaming them for certain things. So, you know, the reality is this: what can we do from there? And I want you to notice that everybody in this first section are female. Okay, so I was provided some statistics from one of the speakers here, and as of August 31, they had over 2,900 food assistance cases, which equaled over 5,900 individuals that are served. This is the amount of money that they're providing per month. And if you just run the stats, this is not the actual picture, but if you just want to average it out, this is kind of what it equates to. $4 a day.
Wow.
That's a challenge. Now think of us. We go to Starbucks and we blow that money, more than that money, on one cup of coffee. That money's got to last them for the whole day. Try to provide nutrition. Now later on, I'm going to give you an example from a culinary perspective where you can really maximize food dollars. Now, the members of our team come from various food pantries and other organizations. And they decided that they wanted to get, this is not a concrete study, it's just a snapshot that they did. They ran a survey at their pantries, a questionnaire that they asked people that were coming in to fill out, a real quick and dirty snapshot, because we were interested in what was the reality. We can't solve a problem if we don't know what the real problem is. You can only do that through gathering information. So in this survey, over a month period, they actually collected 307 surveys. A lot of work by them. Kudos to them. So 544 adults and 208 children were served through those surveys. The average family size was 2.45 people, so every family had a half a person. In addition, 91% reported some kind of income, whether that was through Social Security, disability, they work. So that means the monies that they're getting, whether they're working for it or receiving it as benefits, 91% of these people have some sort of income. A gap exists, a shortfall exists from the money that they're making and the money that they need. 8.1% were first-time visitors. I'm going to get back to this after the next statistic. The people that were surveyed, the average length that they've been receiving services is a period of 3.5 years. So most of these people are in this situation for a long period of time. And if you have 8.1% first-time visitors, that doesn't mean that 8.1% people dropped off and then they were replaced by new ones. This is a growing problem because they've been patronizing these food pantries for over 3 years up to that point. So, in continuation of the data, of those people that were surveyed, over half of them, on average, visit multiple pantries. So they're not receiving services at just one location. They're bouncing from place to place to place to fill that gap. Okay, so think about that and the strain that it puts on those pantries. In a given month, families run out of food by the middle of the third week. And that's when they start needing the support. When asked what their average monthly food budget was, $233. The next statistic is going to blow your mind. This is how much they're short. So you're roughly looking at, they're short half. And that coincides because they're running out of food in the third week, right? About halfway through the month. What does that mean? Well, if you crunch the numbers, that means that they're short $2.90 per day per person. So think about that. Less than $3 per day per person can have a major impact on people. And that also means that that $3 is critical in their budget. If they have to spend that $3 on something else, or they have to forgo something because they don't have that $3, that creates a problem. The top 3 items that are purchased with their monies: meat, dairy, and produce. Why? Well, if you think about it, they're the most expensive food categories, right? If you go grocery shopping, you're spending per pound, per portion, a lot more. If you're buying milk, you're spending a lot of money. Cheeses and produce, fresh produce, depending on the seasonality, depending on the source, can be very, very expensive at times. So that's a quick and dirty. I mean, all they did was created, what was that, Joe, 10 questions? 7 questions handed out at the pantries, and this is the kind of numbers you can find. This is critical to our endeavors. We need to know, in order to provide services, what they need, how much of it. Okay, some strategies that are utilized by the food insecure. And again, the statistics come from Feeding America. 39% of these people do not use toothpaste when they're brushing their teeth. Now remember, when you go grocery shopping, you're just not buying food. You're buying toilet paper and other personal hygiene materials. 40% of these people delay or skip paying rent. 44% delay changing diapers. 49% forego medical expenses. What does that mean? That means they don't get prescriptions filled, they don't get over-the-counter medication, they don't take their kids to the doctor, to the clinic. And look at this. 64% delay or skip paying utilities, and 74% delay or skip washing dishes and doing laundry. So if you look at all of these things, here, personal hygiene, oral health, if you don't teach your kids to brush properly, how does that impact their health later on? Now, as part of my chefing career, I worked at a lot of senior living communities. And I saw very clearly impacts of poor dental health in being able to eat. Some people are on modified food textures because they can't chew. Some need speech pathologists to be able to swallow their food. This has a major impact down the line for these people. Delaying and skipping and paying rent, that jeopardizes their housing situation. Changing diapers, can that have a health effect on infants? Absolutely. And obviously, foregoing medical expenses, that immediately impacts health. Delaying or skip paying utility bills. Okay, lose power, lose heat. Jeopardizes their living situation. Do you think that stresses out a family? And then look at this, washing dishes and doing laundry. Doing laundry. We think of that as a simple activity, but that's a make or break activity for some of these people. Okay, so these are just some numbers, and I could go on for a week. And unfortunately, like you were saying, a lot of these numbers change. And that creates a important perspective. When we deal with this problem, we need to understand that this problem evolves and changes over a period of time, seasonally, whatever the variables are. So if we are to be successful in this endeavor, we need to be constantly pulling in the reality of Fremont County, because that can be shifting and changing. And if we're to help these people, we have to adapt and evolve for those changes. So data gathering is a critical factor in this. We need to understand what the situation is. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I've just thrown some academic, dry statistics, and I told you that there is a face to the problem. Well, you're going to see some of these faces now. And if I can have the 5 individuals that are providing testimony to come up here, and if you can come up through the right-hand side over here, come on up. And we're going to do this in an interview format. And I will introduce each one of them as they are interviewed. And you're going to hear from the people, or a voice of the people. Oh, doesn't matter, you can sit wherever. You're going to hear the actual, their reality, or a part of their reality actually, because I'm going to focus on different things. Yes, thank you for coming. Now, one of the areas that is a major consideration for those in need is the shame factor, the embarrassment factor, that social stigma of being in need. And I want you to recognize the courage of these people to be transparent and authentic about their situation. Okay, Ray, could you, I'm sorry, can you sit down over here, please? Sorry. I should have told you that. I'm not a very good MC, am I? So, bear that in mind. This is not an easy task for them, but they understand that it's an important task because there has to be a voice to the problem. If we don't understand what's really going on, and this is relationship building, okay? So, going from left to right here, we have Anna Cooper, Deb Prodanovich, Kristen Gower, Ray Hicks, and Richard Carter. So, each of them, I'm going to focus on a specific area that impacts them. So we'll start with you, Anna. You can just sit there and please just talk into the microphone. Now, Anna is not a person of need, but she's acting as a voice for 2 individuals that she helps out and more. So she is their spokesperson. So you can take it as the real ground truth of that perspective. So Anna, you told me, we had this wonderful conversation, and you told me that you had this one moment where you reached out to somebody. Can you just real briefly just talk about that?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I retired from my job a few years ago. Like most retirees, the first thing you do is, catch up on all the stuff you haven't been able to do for a long time. And then after, a period of time, I found myself looking for things to do. And so I started, making jams and jellies and baking cookies and cupcakes for grandkids and things like that. Well, one morning I was on my way to Walmart to pick up some supplies, and there's this little lady walking down the street, kicking up dust. She was moving, and it was cold. It was November, and so I thought, I'm going to stop and I'm going to see if I can give her a ride. So I did. Turned around and went back, rolled down my window and spoke to her and said, "Hey, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going this direction, and is there somewhere I could take you? Do you need a ride?" She said, "Yes, that would be so nice." So she gets in, and she explained to me she needed a ride to get to her sister's house, and she needed some help with her phone. So I ended up taking her to her sister's, waited for her to return to the vehicle, and then I asked her, "Do you need to go anywhere else today?" And she said, "Well, if you're going to Walmart, I could use a ride there as well." So we went to Walmart. She did a little shopping there, and so did I. And then I took her home. To this day, we are great friends. And that was almost 3 years ago. In the meantime, there have been several other incidents where I have met people, some in the same apartment building, some just walking the street, getting to a destination. And when offered transportation, they gladly accept, even though they don't know me. They don't know me at all. And so over this period of time, I've come to provide transportation for these people to and from doctor's visits, to pick up prescriptions, to do shopping, and most importantly, to the food pantries. And they need this transportation, otherwise there would be no way that they could travel the distances throughout our community to get to the various food pantries, to get the services they need. And they are so grateful for the pantries to start with, but then to have a way to get there and then a return ride home means a great deal to them. And so that's how I've come to do what I'm doing these days. And to me it's a privilege, and like I said, we've become great friends, and they're really, really sweet people, and they need help.
Well, bless you for your compassion. And again, would you agree with me that relationships are important?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you could pass on the mic to Deb, we're going to focus on relationships. In a quick 30-second snapshot, tell us about your life now. So for the next few minutes, you receive services, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Sorry, I
That's
did.
okay. And so, your experience, and you notice that the 4 other individuals up here, Deb on down, are wearing the green t-shirts. They are part of our team. We decided very early on that we needed representation on our task force, people receiving services. So anyway, talk about your first visit to Mercy today.
Okay, my first visit was I was homeless and living at Loaves and Fishes. Didn't have any resources at all here in
Right.
town. Never been in that situation before. Walked into Mercy today, and Pastor Sheila immediately wrapped her arms around me, told me everything was going to be okay, gave me food, sent me on my way. I've been a volunteer there since then.
And so, do you think, when you were first going there for that first time, did you feel embarrassed?
Very much so.
Okay. So, how important was that hug?
Very important. It showed that she wasn't just going to give me the bag of food. She was going to care from that
Okay.
moment on.
And so, we're talking about relationships. Do you think that we'd be able to address this situation if that part was missing?
No, I think the relationship factor is key.
Okay.
I think that if you just give somebody a bag of food and send them on their way, that's not sufficiency. They need somebody to show them what to do with the food.
Right.
To sit down, listen, and care about them, not just send them out the door.
Okay.
I think that's a real downfall with what's going on right now.
Okay. So these pantries are not just throwing food at the problem. And obviously, you've been a voice on our task force about the relationship component of this. So now that you're a volunteer there, does that change how you help others?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
I am down there volunteering Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
I don't work, but that God puts me to work.
Okay.
And I've seen and been able to make my own relationships.
Right.
They find that it's easier to talk to me
Right.
rather than the food pantry people
Right.
because I've been there.
Right.
I know what they're going through.
Right.
I can understand how it feels to be hungry.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
Right.
So they pass them off.
Right.
So when on Tuesdays, when I go down there,
Right.
it's all about fellowship.
Right.
It's about caring for people,
Right.
not just handing them food.
Right. And do you think from that first time when you were real nervous about going to that pantry to now, do you think that this experience has made you a better person?
Leaps and bounds. I mean, this is out of my comfort zone really big, and I have the confidence because of the relationships they've shown me in the past 3 years.
Okay, well, thank you very much. If you can pass that on to
Thank you, guys.
Kristen. I just want you to recognize and bless Deb for her courage, because she was extremely nervous about coming up here and doing this. She wasn't sure if she was going to do this or not. But then last week she told me, you know what, I'm going to do this, it's important. So I want you to keep in mind how difficult of a process this is to reach out to somebody and to reach out to a group of people like this under spotlights, the microphone. Okay, next person we have is Kristen Gower. I'm going to give you a little background on this. I attended a Loaves and Fishes event last fall, not knowing what I was walking into. I didn't even know it was about food insecurity. And Kristen testified there. And her testimony just absolutely floored me, because you don't think about issues like this, okay? So Kristen, what was the major challenge that you talked about?
Not knowing how to cook the food that they give you.
Okay. So you're receiving food and you're looking at it and you're thinking, what do I do with this stuff? Okay. So tell me how you got out of that.
A friend of mine, an new creations in. She showed me how to cook some chicken and some hamburger, and I could do a lot of things with those in recipes. And I looked at some cookbooks and started experimenting some, and I mean, it's a big thing if you don't know how to cook. My mom didn't teach me much about that, so you have to kind of learn as you go, and I appreciate the people that helped me.
Was it embarrassing for you to ask for help to learn how to cook?
Yeah, because I thought it should be something I knew how to do, that, you know, I should be more equipped than this at this age, so.
Okay. Now, you had a unique twist in this whole thing. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, we thought I had some food allergies at the time, and I was trying to go gluten-free because of issues, and I was blown away by how much that changes what you can eat. I mean, the gluten substitute foods are so expensive. It was $6 for a loaf of bread, of gluten-free bread, and I mean, you know, you can get one for way cheaper than that. That's regular bread, and the textures and the taste weren't the same, and it was really difficult. And then, like, I was lucky this summer. I had a test done and found out that I wasn't gluten-free, which I was ecstatic about because I really love those kinds of foods. But I mean, if you have those issues, dairy intolerance, gluten intolerance, any kind of health issue, it makes it really hard to fill in those gaps in your diet and try to make it with expensive things like that.
So, how did you make it happen when you thought that you were gluten intolerant?
Well, I tried to buy foods like meats and fruits and vegetables and substitute gluten-free foods, free foods, and I was getting more food stamps at the time because I wasn't working, and then it just kind of dropped off over the years, the food stamps.
Did you find it a challenge to be able to buy the meats and the produce?
Yes, I
and
did.
the fruits and vegetables?
Yes, because
Did
those
you-
are,
Did you find that you couldn't buy as much?
yeah, I did.
Okay. So, the reason why I was totally floored about this, and I should have known better as a chef. I really should have. I was like upset with myself that I didn't realize this. Having worked in senior living communities, hospitals, I understood all about diets, specialized diets. Never occurred to me that that would ever be a challenge for the food insecure. And then to hear her voice at that event talking about that just blew me away. So there's a lot of things that we kind of naturally don't think about that have major impact on this situation. Thank you, Kristen. If you can pass it on to Ray. Ray Hicks has an unusual situation. So, Ray, tell the people here what your life was like before.
Pretty much I was not food insecure. Growing up, my parents would say, here's a fishing pole, go catch your fish, you know, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So fish gets old. But I joined the military after that. Pretty much in the military, you have things provided for you. In Iraq, I spent 5 years there after the Vietnam ordeal. But when I got back home, I got home just in time to have a life-changing event, which pretty much turned my world upside down. waking up one morning under the bed, not knowing how you got there or where you're even at. People were dragging you out. Next thing you know, you found out that a hospital, you're having an open heart surgery and you're pretty much in bad shape, and you couldn't use the left side of your body. Obviously, I'm one of the physically disabled, which presents the problem. They can give me food. How am I going to cook it?
Right.
You got to do everything with one hand. I laughed when Tom was going to show me how to break eggs with one hand. Well, I did that as I was a cook in the Army. I was a cook in
Right.
delis. I used to cook a lot. Good food. Delicatessen in fancy ski resorts.
Right.
Now I can't even break an egg.
Okay, so before this medical event happened for you, what was your income?
Okay, when I was working in Iraq, I was a contractor, and it was good with the room and board. We worked 120 hours a week. That was 7 days a week, 94 hours a week, and everything else, no overtime. But I was clearing about $7,000 to $9,000 at the time.
Okay.
I put it all in my home here up in Cotopaxi, which
I'm on.
I couldn't work anymore, so I
Right.
lost a home. So I was basically having to put my pride in my back pocket and
Right.
try to get through the hordes of paperwork. So they gave me a Quest card, and so I think my money budget is around $20 a month on that food stamp card. You have to really depend on people like the food pantries and places like that, the Mercy Church. And as far as the cooking goes, I hope she's here today as my housekeeper, my in-home healthcare provider. She comes over and helps me once, twice a week with cooking. It's a blessing because I can't even fold laundry.
Okay, so before this medical catastrophe happened for you, did you ever think that you would be in this situation?
It does. You don't think about that till it happens. It's like being in a car wreck. You were texting 1 minute, you're twisted in the next.
Okay, so you didn't expect that you'd
By the
ever
way,
be in
my
this
train-
part in
my
your
call
life.
sign was train wreck.
So you didn't anticipate this ever to happen?
No.
You didn't plan for it to
The only
happen?
thing I heard is 2 days before my cholesterol level's up, which
Right.
is going up again because I'm eating a lot of pastas and stuff. Finding healthy food when you only got one arm to eat with. Imagine tying your left hand and your left leg behind you for a day. Helen Keller once said she hopes people will go blind for 3 days to know what it was like to be blind. So I say do that with your arm and leg and see what it's like to get by.
Right. So,
But don't give up.
right, absolutely. I want people to understand, when I heard about his situation, we go through our everyday lives, people in our community, they're healthy, they're making money, they're providing, they are food secure. One event happens, and now you're placed in a totally different world. That's an amazing reality to understand.